hellos. This is the first call of the Filecoin Plus Allocator Community Call taking place on February 3rd. On the agenda, we have a quick check-in as we prepare for most of the community being out for the upcoming new year, but we'd like to hit three main points. One is tooling, making you aware of RPA updates and kind of how to make sense of this, some changes that you'll see to the DataCap website, as well as still checking in for your feedback on measurements on some of the scores. For SLAs, we'll talk about what paid storage deals look like in Q1 2023, as well as a very brief check-in on the roadmap coming forward for Q2 of 2026. And then DataCap refresh, there were two, answer any questions you may have, then take time for any organizations that may have wished to apply or interested in joining the program for their applications and questions. As always, this should be a very quick call, so most of the time will be for any community-led issues. With that, if there's anything you want to see on the agendas, every 2 weeks I'll post this issue in GitHub that lets you add, can we please talk about my issue going forward? Love to see this. And thank you. We had an organization that created a template. They're going to walk through a demo. We got this a little bit late, so I'm going to collect it, make a much better presentation for them. And on March 3rd, we'll talk about it. And that means that there's no call on February 17th. Please enjoy the holiday time off with your loved ones, and we'll resume these calls on March 3rd coming up. So again, no call on February 17th, but the next one will resume March 3rd. Quick and look at the metrics updates, kind of a slower period as we all come back and prepare for the holiday season in APAC. So we had 21 PIBs of DataCap go out over the last 2 weeks. 2 allocators received a refresh. We'll talk about that. We saw a new client come on board, which was nice. And then we'll kind of be talking about these allocator pathways that we have active a little bit later on the call. If you have any questions, feel free to raise it in the chat and we'll go through it. All right, hey, tooling. So there's been a lot of changes. You might have seen the post from Damien in the Fil Plus Slack channel. Lots going on right now behind the scenes. So the first thing that you may notice if you go to DataCap stats, you're now greeted with this change page, what's been updated and new. This way you're not constantly having to sort through and find what's actually changed in the Fil Plus program since you last look. So big props to the Fiddle team as this continues to go forward. Looking to see it as we go back on it. Also, there is a new verbiage in the application that you might share with your clients if you're an allocator. And now we're asking about the storage class requirements. So this is a helpful way as an allocator that you can communicate with your clients about what type of data they're storing. Put this in the application so when we start to do the refresh, it's very clear. And as we develop this, we'll share more about this process, but hopefully trying to make this as easy as possible for you allocators to get the DataCap to the right clients as they go forward. We've talked about this on past calls, but just to kind of check in again, we're really moving forward, and we'll talk about it on this call, for the SLAs. And what does it look like to do quality work as an allocator, making sure that DataCap's going to the right clients who are storing it in the right ways? And what does it not look like? So as we build out the DataCap website, you see that there's an allocator score that you can now access. In that allocator score, we're just asking for feedback again. Do these make sense? Do these scores indicate what it is like and what you're encountering as you serve as a pathway? Or should we change the weights? So again, a friendly call. We're very much seeking feedback on these. If these are off, let us know. If these aren't measuring, please let us know. And then Spark, goodbye. RPA, hello. So what is RPA doing? So it's more than just checking if that random piece is retrievable, but what's the size behind it? So Damien posted in the Fil Plus Slack channel a little bit about this, just to kind of add some more color. So it's not just checking if that random piece is retrievable, but again, it's going to look at the size that comes through and then how long it takes to time to First Byte, the TTFB, and then what's the head response, like the time from sending that to getting it back. We're again looking for feedback. If this is becoming burdensome, if this isn't checking the right way the data comes through, we really need to hear from you. As these tools are being developed, we're talking with other pathways and we're soliciting this feedback from the community. So again, I know that Spark was not the favorite by a lot of us in the community. So thank you to the work on getting this RPA set up to make sure that if a client is coming and saying they're going to have public retrievable data, you as the allocator have a way that you can look at that and say, okay, this is not public retrievable. client, I'm not going to be allocating you more additional DataCap. That way, when you, the allocator, come back for your DataCap refresh, you can kind of document that process. So this RPA is good to go. If you have any questions about this, the Fil Plus Slack is a great channel to plug into. We have some really great minds that can help answer any questions as we go through. But just to make everyone aware, this is live and the RPA is here for any uses that you may have on it. Hey, what would a call be without checking in on roadmaps? So for the last 2, 3 months, we've been leaning heavily into what does the system look like? How do we kind of change this to make it more transparent and make it more numbers and process it oriented? So if you've been coming to these calls, we've talked a lot about defining these SLA metrics. We have some issues in GitHub under discussions. We shared it on this call. Just kind of check in. Do we have the right things? And then looking at like, how do we make this community aware of what the SLAs are doing? So now that we're in Q1, we're really looking into you as allocators curating that experience. So we talk about the RPA, making sure that your clients know the data is retrievable. We're talking about the SLA compliance, a little bit more on this call about how the deals should be paid, how they should be communicated. And so we're really moving forward. And now that we've collected these SLAs, now that we've collected what this roadmap is, you're going to start to see a lot more from the foundation and the governance team about how do these numbers correlate for you allocating this data cap and how clients and SPs should be partaking in that. So let's check in on this a little bit. The first is the SLA metrics themselves. In 2025, they were quite broad. We had these 5 categories where we were verifying the storage, we were verifying the download ability. We're really trying to summarize these to make them actionable and easy to follow for you. So the first 3 that I would really like to highlight is that as allocators, we should be ensuring that the clients and SPs are registering their deals on chain. We're kind of moving away from this manual process. We're shifting away from big docs to let's prove it with the data. The second is ensuring client quality of success. And we'll talk about this as we go forward and how those work into essentially paid deals. So in the past, we could just say you could onboard this public open data. There wasn't a client coming. If you had enterprise deal, it didn't have to be on chain. Kind of drawing your eye to what's here in the red text. Now in Q1 2026, all enterprise deals need to have a payment associated with their data set. If not, they're out of compliance and that pathway will not be receiving a DataCap refresh. The same thing holds true for the open data, the public open data sets that we have. We're going to kind of gradually ramp this up. So in Q1, the threshold that's set is 25%, which means that if you have received 5 petabytes of DataCap and you're allocating it now, at least one of those petabytes of DataCap, a little bit more, should have a payment associated with it that's registered on chain. If not, then that should be communicated to the client like, hey, I'm an allocator. I've already done 3 other clients that had no paid deals associated with them that were registered. I would not be the best fit to help you with this. I recommend you see somebody else. So you as allocators need to be mindful of the clients that you're supporting and making sure that at least 25% of your public open data that's being onboarded is verified with payment on chain deals. And this should be mentally noted because this number is only going to go up. Right now in Q1, it's 2025, but as we'll see, this will gradually increase to 50 and higher as we go through. So what do those numbers look like? This is in the GitHub repository. I'm just kind of bubbling it up if anybody wants to look at more details. As the tools come out, this is a lot easier to track, not just from the governance and fiddle standpoint, but for you as allocators in the program. So you should be looking at these expectations for your clients and letting them know. And then as far as the performance and monitoring, we're going to be really looking at the scores that allocators have that come from the DataCap stats. So as a reminder, in DataCap stats, we can now see what's new and what's changed. But for you as for the allocators, we can also see a breakdown of what's actually taking place. Let me grab that slide here. So let me come over to allocators here. And for the allocators, we keep a score on what is being measured, what is being distributed, how is that data cap distribution going. At the very bottom, each allocator will have their own individual score associated with it. Right now, we have this leaderboard, for example. And for open dataset allocators, when we click on big hash data, they're given a score and we can see what that ranking is. What we're saying is going forward into Q2, we're going to be looking at allocators that don't have compatible scores. Sorry. We're going to be looking at sunsetting those pathways. So allocators that aren't able to kind of comply with the standards that they set for in their application. Before it was a lot of kind of back and forth, a lot of gray areas. As we've kind of identified these, it should be more clear cut. If we're not meeting the standards on retrievability, off duplication, CID sharing, it's going to drop the score. This is something that you as a pathway or an allocator can look at, address, and deal with. And if it's not, then the simple thing will be that that pathway is sunset, and then any clients are more than welcome to choose from one of the 112 other different pathways to get what they're looking for. So allocators, please be mindful about what's measuring this, which is again, why on the call, we're asking for feedback. If you don't think that these metrics that we have for CID sharing or IPNI reporting or unique data size accurately reflect what should be in that pathway, let us know, because we are taking this tooling and using it as the compliance standards that admin uses for the audits going forward. And then last, move to the paid deals. This is something that we've talked about on the last 4 calls, and I'll probably keep it on the next future calls just because this is very important for the program. The network requires paid storage deals to operate. And so for those rewards to be given, we need to have some type of record as we begin to move forward to the next phase of the Filecoin ecosystem, not just Filecoin Plus. So in 2026, enterprise deals require 100% proof of payment. If you have an enterprise customer coming to you, you can't just say, I've got the client. You should show the proof of record. Right now, we're requiring that that proof is 50% on chain. That number is only going to go up as we get more competent with the tools, more of the community is aware of it. The same thing with the open data sets for public open data. Right now, we're not requiring any of it besides 25% be recorded. But as this time goes on, that will increase from 50 to 75 up to eventually 100, where it's all recorded on chain. So right now in Q1 going into the holidays, when we come back, we'll talk a lot about it on the call on March 3rd about what does this look like? What does the tooling really come into it? But the standards are tightening to make sure that we're supporting quality data with real clients. Anything else, we'll be taking those pathways, thanking you for your time, and any clients that you may have, directing those to pathways that are able to kind of operate in these standards. So it's a lot more of a stricter operating environment as we go forward. So I kept this slide many times, and we just talk about, as an allocator, what are the requirements that you should have top of mind as you're allocating that data set? No more than 8 replicas, that you have a detailed CID of what's coming back, that you're giving the data cap away in tranches and not just all at once to a client who comes to you, that it's stored in different geographic regions. So if you're not seeing the clients do that, you as the allocator should not be giving data set to those use cases. They're not allowed in the program. These aren't benefiting the network. They don't qualify for this block reward. The one in bold that we've added, just to kind of highlight for you, is that proof and documentation associated with payment corresponds to at least 25% of all the DC allocated to clients. So making sure that if you have that 5 petabytes allocations, that you don't give all 5 to non-verified, non-paid clients, because if you do, it will make the data cap refresh very difficult. We might be accommodating in the near term of like a throttle while you come back and then throttling that data to paid on chain. This will be case by case, making it. But as this goes forward, just again, the standards are very, very clear that there should be associated on-chain paid deals with this. If not, then that will limit the pathway's ability to receive data cap. So what does the data cap refresh look like? Kind of a quiet period. We had 2 come in. Thanks for Amin for kind of pushing these in. Frog Hub, Cover Me, thanks for your time. I saw those 2 applications. Looks like they're coming along great. We saw no new enterprise data come back, so looking forward after the break to seeing some more enterprise pathway onboarding. And just a quick highlight, we had a lot of it growing iterations over the last year, where it took sometimes 38 days start to finish. So I wanted to call out Amin on this call. Just thanks again for all the work you do, looking at these applications, getting back. So community, let us know. Hopefully this is a much faster time frame. We have 2 weeks, but I've seen Amin turn these around really quick. When he posts the questions, just let us know if that's on board. We'll go forward. So Amin, thanks again for that. Future applicants. So Uzi, I know you're on the call from Kwanzai. We'll talk about yours. I just want to kind of stress this again. Anybody can apply now at apply.allocator.tech. The applications are open for 2026. You'll see in the application when you file into Airtable, it'll ask when you come in here to apply to become an allocator. You visit the dashboard, apply to become allocator. You're then greeted with this Airtable form where you could list out who are you, what have you been doing in the program, but we're also asking for more details about what are your program actually doing, and then what's it going to do different in the program. So let me scroll down just so you can all see it. Right here, differentiation of method of allocation. So we kind of called it out. There is 112 organizations distributing DataCap. Of those 112, I think over 80 of them are serving all corners of the world with a manual review process. So when the client comes to you, you manually review them and then you approve DataCap from there. So we have no gaps in coverage. There's no corner of the world, there's no use case that is not currently being met by a pathway right now. So therefore, onboarding more pathways actually slows down the discovery for clients. It's harder to search, it's harder to discover, it's harder to connect. So any new organization coming to join the program, we're asking them to say, what is different? If we're not taking you as a manual pathway, what are you doing that is not currently done right now? Are you developing an automated tool? Are you building something like a marketplace? Are you treating something that's not like to be treated? But we are no longer just onboarding more and more pathways, which is decreasing the way for new clients to find the program. So we have 3 new applications we're working with. When you fill out a new application on the apply.allocator after you've submitted, it'll then ask you to submit KYC. But just want to stress, one of the things we're looking at is really listing out if you were doing a manual and hoping to join the program, we are not just taking these now. There has to be something materially different that's coming to add value to that. And we'll get into the Q&A with anybody on the call. So with that, I'll say thanks for any kind of updates that we just ran through. I know we had some questions, and so maybe we'll get into you. Uzi, I see you on the call. Maybe I'll just clarify if there's anything you want to dive into, let me know, and we'll go through it. So let me pull up your link here. So Novatech, just to kind of brief, what I see from you is you guys applied 3005. And what you're looking at is what's the status of the application and what's kind of coming forward. So when these applications are submitted, this is what it looks like when you submit the Airtable form. And what we're looking at is, okay, what are you doing? You're doing enterprise data and you're having the spots to be done with this. So maybe the best thing for you is to kind of spell out as you're doing these enterprise, who are these enterprise clients that you're working with? What is something new that's not currently being treated by the currently 20 or so different enterprise ones we have doing the manual pathway data? The next action for you, for Novatech, would be to come here and list that inside this GitHub repo. And I would really want you to address this question right here. If you're going to be doing a manual check on these enterprise clients, what is something different or unique or value add or new that you're bringing to the network and list that here in this application. This will then let us to give this back to the governance team, to give this back to admin and compliance to see if this is really meeting it. So Uzi, Novatech, is there anything specific that you'd like to dive into or have us give more context or just openly discuss in a friendly forum? I see your question in chat, and I'd like to ask if I need to reapply for the automatic assigner. If I had to guess what you mean by the automatic assigner, right now you probably have enterprise data set up, and for your audit process, you provide this. I think what you should probably really spell out is as you're doing this enterprise allocation, talk to us about how that deal making will be coming through. So when you're giving these data cap away to these enterprise clients, who are these clients coming to you? How are you unique to the other pathways that are coming? How do they supported? What are their use cases? How are you going to essentially log that proof of payment? Because the bar is very high. The bar is very, very high. So the more information you can give on these, the better. And Uzi, if I had to understand too, you might be seeing that there's automated allocators. There's a couple of tooling currently taking place, and we'll talk about this on March 3rd, where organizations say, look, we don't want to have a human in the loop. So if a client comes to us and asks for DataCap, we do it all automated. We take their GitHub, the GitHub runs a scan how long they've been in business, we verify it, then we can automatically check their contracts. If you are working on something like that with automated tooling, please list it out in detail. You could share the README file for the repo of the tooling. Just drop that README file here. But what you're going to want to do is give a lot of information on what this pathway would be doing. And what we're looking to do is just limit additional pathways that are doing the same thing and just kind of making it very hard for new clients to connect with the best. If you have any questions or just want to have a discussion, you could just list it right here in this registry. You can tag them in, you could tag myself, and we'll be happy to kind of answer anything that you have. And this way we can keep this linked. Sometimes Slack is great, but Slack can get lost and it gets hard to find historics. So please list your questions here in this issue so that admin, myself, anybody else on the team can get you what you need. All right, I'll make an open call if anybody on the line wants to add anything. Damien, Michael, Amin, floor is yours. Uzi, if there's anything else, happy to get into it for you. All right, you're kind of expecting that. Well, enjoy the holiday break. Again on March 3rd, we'll get in. Oh, I heard an unmute. I'll zip.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, thanks so much, Kevin, for sharing this. And I think this is a good kind of window into the overall strategic direction that Filecoin as a network is going into, and maybe just to kind of tie it all together, in terms of again why we're doing this. And then Kevin, I think you already explained, but the idea of generating value for the Filecoin economy through paid deals. If you're a Filecoin token holder, stakeholder, SP, you have a vested interest in creating a strong business model for Filecoin to have paid and eventually paid on-chain deals, because it feeds value back into the economy that we're all building together. So it's not just like we're adding new rules or new layers of bureaucracy, but this is actually fundamental to the business strategy of Filecoin and its future success. So thanks again, Kevin, for recapping that.